Hey, it's Mike with Pleasant Places. Just wanted to talk a little bit about wood chips. We bought this property about 7 years ago and the soil was very poor. In fact, I've got a video about that you can check out. So right away we knew we needed organic matter on this farm. So as much as we possibly could, we asked everyone we could for wood chips. I found a farmer down the road that had some. He let me have a bunch. I brought them, loaded them up in a truck and brought them here on my own, but it just wasn't enough. It was 2 pickup truck loads. So I started doing chip drop and calling tree trimming companies and really did not have any luck. One of the local tree trimming companies came one day, but they were like, hey, we got a bunch of logs, can we drop the logs off? And I really did not want the logs, but because I wanted to build a relationship with them, I accepted the logs. So they brought logs and that was it. They didn't bring any chips, at least in the short term. They brought a massive water oak that's probably about 36 inches in diameter. It's huge. They brought that. I don't have any use for that. For any of the other logs, I just asked my neighbor if he wanted them. He took them, used them as firewood. Then about a year later, they started to bring just 1 or 2 batches a year. So not much at all. I've asked them to add me to their list of dump sites and they've done that, but I don't get much. So I noticed a company was trimming power lines in our area, and I'm familiar with this particular company. They're a big company, so I contacted them, found out who their regional manager was, told them, hey man, I've got a place where I would love for you guys to dump wood chips. Now, they get messages all the time of people wanting wood chips. And like chip drop, it's typically people with 1 or 2 loads, and it's a very tight area, or they've got to drive across the lawn and stuff like that. It is very difficult on these companies to accept dump sites like that. There's so much liability if they bust your driveway, they drive off the grass, if they bust a water pipe, because who knows? There's just too much liability. I feel for you guys with small properties that want wood chips. It's gonna be hard for you. I know that there are some successes with chip drop, but there's a lot of failures. Not knocking chip drop as a company, just the concept of opening up, everyone's property as a dump site. So anyway, I contacted the regional guy. The guy contacts me back and says, oh, that's great. I'll let you know when we've got something in your area, because the way these crews work is they're on a rotation where every, 3 to 7 years, they'll go and they'll hit specific circuits along the power lines to clear them. So some of that goes right through the city, some of it goes through the country, etc. It's just, there's different schedules. So anyways, I didn't hear anything from him for 2 years. Then I'm on a family vacation and I was like, you know what? I really need wood chips. Let me reach out to this guy again. So I sent him a message. He responded immediately. He was like, hey man, I lost your contact info. We got a tree trimming company or a tree trimming job in your area right now. Can you take the chips? I'm like, yes, I'll take the chips. So that began this pattern of every year I'm getting anywhere from 50 to 100 loads of wood chips. And they'll come sometimes 3 or 4 times a day. Then I won't see them for a day or 2 and then they're back again. But they'll come and they'll stay on these circuits for a month and a half and just start dumping wood chips. I want them to consider this a blessing, a great place to dump. And that's gonna lead me to some tips when you do find a tree trimming company. You need to make it easy on these guys. Their job is not to deliver you wood chips. Their job is to trim trees, get that job done, get rid of those chips, and get back to the job. So you need to do whatever you possibly can to make that easy on them. I have learned through dealing with them how not to do it. Don't say, hey, I want a load over here and a load over there and a load over here. Don't do that. The reason why is you start to complicate things and it becomes more of a burden to them than a blessing. So when I started to do that, they quit coming as often. So then when they came back again, I told them, I said, hey, just dump it all right here. I'll move it where I need to. And I've got a loader that makes that a little bit easier. Man, things picked up. They started delivering wood chip after wood chip after wood chip. The other tip that I can give you is make the spot easily accessible. When we first started getting wood chips, we had a spot down in the bottom of our hill. It's an area that sometimes got soft. They started dumping there and I noticed they were digging in pretty bad. Now, it was an area of pasture. I didn't care too much about that. The bigger issue to me was, were they gonna get stuck? So I started telling them, don't dump there. So I was like, all right, I got to find a better area for them to deliver. So I moved up the hill a little bit, found a good spot. They quickly filled that up. So all right, well, I've got to have another spot. It's not ideal, but I have them coming all the way up our hill, driving right in front of our house, just steps off of our house, and dumping in this area. But this area is working well for them. There have been a few times that they've gotten stuck. I've pulled them out with my loader, so they don't have to call the boss and and deal with that. But the more they dump here, the more organic matter starts to build up, the easier it is for them to get stuck. But it works. So, tip number 1 was, don't give them a lot of instructions. Don't make it complicated. Tip number 2 is make the access easy. They need to be able to get in and get out right away. So, third tip that I can give you is just show your appreciation to them. It goes a long way. I'm starting to build a relationship with these guys. It's the same guys every year. There's one of them in particular. He started his own tree trimming business on the side. He now dumps here. So you never know how just showing your appreciation to them is gonna pay off. Plus, it's just good to be a decent person. Tip number 4: don't stack these too high. I've read up on it some, and they say anywhere from 8 to 14 feet. Once you start to stack these wood chips up, you can run the risk of spontaneous combustion. You don't want to deal with that on your farm. Tip number 5, don't be picky about the wood species. I was a little picky in the beginning with the smaller tree trimming company, and they quit coming. I don't blame them. That I made it difficult for them. That's when I realized their job is not to deliver me wood chips. Their job is to clear somebody's lot. So don't be picky with the species. You're going to get a mix. You're going to get, since they're going through neighborhoods, you're going to get typical neighborhood residential trees, Bradford pears, etc. And you're going to get your pines and whatever is native to your particular area. So don't be picky on the wood species. One more note on the wood species: I'm finding that they're all pretty much composting the same. What's making a difference is the size of the chip. So the smaller size chips, etc., it tends to break down quicker. You get the long, stringy stuff with a bunch of sticks in it. That doesn't compost as quickly. So that, to me, has been a bigger factor. Now, maybe there's some species that make it through the chipper easier than others, but it's really the size of the chip that is making the difference. All right, last tip. How can you get these to compost quicker? So we created what's called a bioreactor. I think it's a Johnson Sioux bioreactor. Diego Footer has a video on how to build those. His were pretty small, but we've got so many chips, I wanted to build a big one. To me, it was not worth the labor. So other things you can do to speed up the decomposition of it is to add water and mix it. Another is a nitrogen source, whichever nitrogen source you can find, whether it's coffee grounds, fish emulsion, whatever. The third method, and we're going to do this year, is to use mushroom spawn to inoculate the pile and get those mushrooms to break it down quicker. So we're going to use wine cap mushrooms. They're well known for breaking down wood chips. We're going to use those, and we'll get the side benefit of being able to sell some mushrooms. So those are the different ways that you can speed up the decomposition of these wood chips. Okay, so the last thing about wood chips that I have for you, and it deals with their uses. We use them everywhere. We use it for erosion control, deep litter method for animals. We use it on the garden with chickens to build up our soil. Be careful using them around your home. I got a lot of warnings about using wood chips and termites on your home. That hasn't been an issue for us. It could be in the future. We do have a lot of termites here. The bigger issue for us is it started holding so much moisture that we noticed that there was moisture wicking into our crawl space wherever we had mulch close to the house. Just know, using these wood chips, or really any organic matter in a deep layer near your house, could impact the moisture levels in your soil and therefore your foundation. So that's something to watch out for. So, but at the same time, using them around the house has improved the soil quite a bit, and now we've got grass growing around the house because of it. Well, I hope this was an informative video for you. If you have any questions, comments, etc., just enter them in the comments section. And if you are interested in learning more about how we're rejuvenating our soil here on our farm, please like and subscribe. We appreciate it.